Hello everyone, my name is Gabby and welcome back to another Hugtto Precure review. This time reviewing episode 5. While Homare struggles over failing to become a Precure, Hana and Saya still want to hang out with her and be her friend. But the villains have another plan and kidnap Homare and tell her that she'll never be able to jump again, creating a monster out of her despair. As the Precure try to fight it, Homare, hearing Hugtan's cries and remembering what Hana and Saya said to her, gets the determination to not run away any longer, causing her Mirai crystal to form. She transforms into Pure Étoile and helps the others defeat the monster, joining the team and their group of friends. So, what did I like about this episode? Well, first of all, the way that Homare's sort of subplot thing was kind of resolved. My biggest concern over this episode was that they were going to have Homare basically deal with all of her issues by basically saying, oh, it's okay, I don't have any trauma, I'm not scared anymore, basically everything is okay because I have friends, and she basically just deals with everything through the power of friendship. And I mean, in a way you could say they kind of sort of did that, but they were surprisingly subdued about the whole thing. Sure, thinking about her friends and what her friends said to her was one of the reasons as to why her Mirai crystal was able to form this time, but that didn't actually make her problems just disappear. She mentions that she is still kind of scared about jumping and still sort of scared about being cheered on. It's more like her friends' belief in her is what's giving her the courage to actually try it again. It's not like the problem's disappearing, it's just having these friends believe that she can do it is making it easier for her to try. There's this surprisingly kind of subtle metaphor in the actual kind of fight scene when she transforms, and once the villain goes up into the air, she jumps into the air, and then Hana and Saya basically give her an extra boost that basically makes her fly. It's like, oh yeah, maybe on her own she might not be able to do it, but with the help of her friends she can, and this isn't being flat out explained to the audience, they're actually using metaphor. It's nice and it's subtle and it's better than I was expecting. And now that we've sort of seen Pure Étoile in action, I've got to say I really do enjoy the concept behind her design and her sort of character. In that Homare's whole sort of character arc is trying to basically learn how to fly again, essentially, and her being a Precure, it's like the idea is like her Precure form is almost like this kind of like idealized self, the person that she wants to be, and we kind of know that already, and we knew that even before she sort of transformed. In that before, when she was a figure skater, she had this big ponytail, and she kind of gets that back when she transforms, and then there's the fact that her outfit is based on a flight attendant, which is first of all an actual like adult career and also something that has got to do with flying. And then the third thing, it's like when she is Pure Étoile, she actually can fly, or at least sort of jump really high, which is almost like the equivalent of flying. This is a Precure season where I can actually understand the appeal of sort of wanting to be a Precure other than just like, the privilege of being able to wear a cute dress and punch monsters really hard. It's sort of the idea that being a Precure is like this sort of alter ego where you basically get to have that thing that you always wished you were, and that's really cool, and it's kind of like inspiring and just fun to watch. As for what I didn't like about this episode, well, I did enjoy the fight scene and sort of how it related to Homare's development and the kind of metaphors used. I wasn't really as much of a big fan of the kind of first half of the episode, in that it sort of did the thing that I was worried they were going to do in episode 3, and kind of just sort of shoved a lot of random almost exposition and plot elements for the sake of kind of explaining to the audience the status quo of all these random parts of the season. It's like, here's what Harry does with his life. Here's the Precure equivalent of Instagram. Here's a tambourine. No explanation really, just here, have a tambourine, just use the tambourine. All these elements were just kind of shoved in the episode, sort of one after the other, and I don't think they had much to do with Homare's development at all. I mean, at the very least I can appreciate they had some kind of theme, and that the first half was mostly about sort of talking about what's important about teamwork, and then sort of having teamwork be the thing that defeats the monster in the end. But teamwork isn't really the thing that made Homare get the courage to transform. I mean, it was a part of it, but it wasn't the only reason. I kind of wish they had spent more time talking about Homare's development specifically, and less a sort of broad, general story about teamwork. So, as for next episode? Well, now that the main team has been assembled, it's time for the characters to take the first step towards doing one of the actual goals of this season that is kind of being more mature because they're actually getting a job. Because, if these characters want to be mature adults, the first way of doing that is by trying to get a responsible job. I didn't really think about it, but this season might be surprisingly relatable even to older audiences. It's probably not going to be the most important episode in the long run, but I am very interested to see how the team dynamic is going to be now that all of these characters have actually joined. How do they play off one another? What do they add to their group of friends? All that kind of stuff. And we're also getting a new villain, so I wonder how that's going to be related as well. So that was Hugtto Precure episode 5. Not the strongest follow-up to episode 4, but at the same time not really a disappointment either. It did everything it needed to. It did it in a somewhat creative way. We kind of got a cool fight out of it, and when I start playing the opening theme in a random scene, it's supposed to be important. I kind of wish the entire episode was as interesting and as thematically consistent as last episode, but that's not always going to happen, and I'm still really satisfied with how Homare's character arc went. I'm actually in a unique situation where we've gotten all the main members of the team, and I actually don't know who's my favorite. I don't think that's really happened since maybe Heartcatch, so that's pretty cool. Of course, now the recruitment's over, we're probably not going to get any really big development until maybe perhaps about episode 10, 11 or so, whenever they get their first sort of power up, and then I'm not sure. So the next few episodes probably aren't going to be as interesting, but there's probably going to be stuff there that I am going to find enjoyable. So this is Gabby signing out, and I'll see you all next week. Bye guys!